All right, hello friends out there in Canada, the United States. A specific shout out to everyone listening in Montana. We have a ton of fans in Montana, in case you were wondering. It's episode 9, Bat Flips Maple Dips. My name's Clayton Croker, coming to you from Saskatoon. We have Justin Andy Anderson to my left. I couldn't think of a good nickname for you today. And it doesn't matter what your nickname is because it's not going to come close to this guy. Patrick, the Maritimes Mr. Smaker Marsh. He joins us in Halifax. How's it going, bud?
Hey man, what's up?
How was your seafood dinner tonight? I'm assuming that's what you had because that's what every Maritimer has all the time, seafood?
No, I had some chicken, but for dinner, I had a really weird thing. Well, lunch, I guess you guys call it.
Yeah, I was about to say dinner? What a loser.
All right, at lunch, I hit up this hot new place. Maybe it's not new. I don't know. It's called the 244 here in Halifax, and I got myself a grilled cheese sandwich.
Nice.
But it wasn't a grilled cheese sandwich. It was a melt because it was a grilled cheese that had pickles and bacon in it. So I was kind of upset, to be honest with you, because a grilled cheese sandwich is a grilled cheese sandwich. There's nothing else on it.
We get 9 episodes in and you're turning into a diva. Hey, 9 podcast episodes. You think you can just demand whatever you want. It's not a grilled chease. It's a melt.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
If I get pickles on it again, I send it back.
I'll have the gabagool. That's a good Office reference right there. Episode 9, it's called The Rest of My Life. We named it after a Sloan song. I would have gone with Money City Maniacs, but I don't name the episode, so whatever. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/batflipsmapledips. Twitter, that's our best one, at BFMD Podcast. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music. We'll explain all that on our Facebook page as well. We are going to get into the week that was, as we always do for the Jays. We're going to talk about our Dream Jays lineup. That's our roundtable talk discussion today. We might get into some prospect talk. We might get into some other stuff too, but we got to start off today. We'll do some other housekeeping things. I got engaged over the weekend, I guess. We have to talk about that because you guys are forcing me to, but yeah, I got engaged. So,
Yay!
So good stuff.
That's me clapping.
Yeah, it was awesome. Everything pretty much went wrong that day. I took her to her favorite restaurant, and the appetizer, is her favorite food ever. They're the mussels there. And they discontinued it. They don't make it anymore. So 0 for 1 right there. Took her out for ice cream. She told me she gave up ice cream for the year, so 0 for 2, which sucked because I had someone follow us around, to take a photo of the engagement, and the cue was, when Brenly finishes her ice cream, that's what I'm going to ask her. It's kind of tough to do that when she doesn't have fucking ice cream. So then the other thing is, too, I had our other roommate follow us around. She's this little tiny blonde lady, and I had her, hide and, make sure she could capture the moments. And then people started to look at her because she's hiding behind a tree, and this little blonde lady just creeping on this couple hiding behind a tree. It looked really bad. It looked like our roommate was just stalking us, basically. So 0 for 4, but then I asked her and she said yes, and it was awesome, and it was a big, huge moment, and yeah, so it was really good. So thanks, friends.
Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, and to feel more adult,
Congratulations.
I got a mustache to make myself, officially an adult. So engaged, mustache. Yeah, story of my life right there. That's gonna be the title of my memoirs. Engaged in mustaches, the Clayton Croker story. Okay, that's out of the way. By the way, I look like Travis Snyder, like a ginger Travis Snyder.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
I miss Travis Snyder's duster. Oh my god.
Well, I don't miss Travis Snyder. The mustache, yes.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some trades here, guys. The big one, obviously, Roberto Osuna. We get Ken Giles in return. I think that's the big one we were looking for. Hector Perez, David Paulino. I mean, we don't really know too much about them. Almost knocked Justin's computer off and smacked it. I'm just excited about the trade because I'm excited that Roberto Osuna no longer plays for us.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'll ask you, were you a little surprised at the backlash from Blue Jay fans about the Osuna trade? Because a lot of them were pissed.
No, I was talking a little bit with Justin about this, about how there were some really spicy takes on the subreddit for the Toronto Blue Jays about how they were switching their loyalty to a different team, or that they had given up on Shapiro and Atkins, and that this was going to be the trade that destroys the Jays forever. And I got to say, to you people out there who think trading away Roberto Osuna is going to somehow magically destroy this team, there's not much left to destroy after today, first of all. And second of all, what would you rather do? Would you rather have a guy like Roberto Osuna on the team, or would you rather get rid of him, get some value, trade him to a contender, and let him be their problem?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, no matter how good Roberto Osuna plays for the rest of his career, I'm always going to remember him as the guy who did or didn't do what he did or didn't do, and cost us a significant amount of games, and also is probably a shitty person. So, you know what? I called this last week. I said he was going to go to Houston or Chicago. Those teams are in win-now mode. He's now their problem. Don't care. That's the last time I hope I ever have to talk about Roberto Osuna.
This is not as serious of an example, but he's got like Billy Koch syndrome. He's only going to be remembered for his one bad thing. Roberto Osuna will always be remembered, not for his 100 saves, not for his playoff performance. He's going to be remembered for that. Remember when Billy Koch got released, I think it was by Tampa Bay, and he went into the crowd at the Trop like the next... 2 days after that with his kids and started to chirp the Rays or something like that. Like, that's all I think of when I think of Billy Koch now. I don't think of his little goatee. I don't think of his high socks.
Yeah,
I think of the time when a team cut him and he went back and just chirped the fuck out of him afterwards. That's the thing that's going to happen with Osuna.
Yeah.
I'll ask this to you, Justin. Do you think Osuna will have over or under 100 more saves in his MLB career?
Over.
You're gonna you think he's going to stay in the league?
If he's not convicted, and even if he is, I mean, we've seen athletes come back from convictions, i.e. Michael Vick, before in other sports, albeit. But, I mean, Aroldis Chapman did something pretty bad, too, as did Jose Reyes, as did Ray Rice, and they all, for the most part, have come back.
Not Ray Rice,
but the baseball guys are still around. Reyes isn't any good anymore, but Chapman still is. And he's kind of the same kind of, he's a closer, just like Osuna. So, I mean, I think Osuna... if he's not convicted and doesn't serve time, he'll probably get 200 more saves in his career at least. If he stays as a closer, right? He's pure talent. He's got the talent. As long as he's not completely mentally rattled by this whole thing, which is entirely possible. I mean, he might be a head case now, right? And he might just completely fall in. But I still think he gets more than 100.
All right, Patrick, what do you think of the return here for us? Again, Giles is the big name, but do you think he's damaged goods too, or do you think we can salvage something with him?
I think he's less damaged goods than Roberto Osuna. I think Roberto Osuna has a much, much higher ceiling than Ken Giles, but they have, I believe, the same amount of team control. I think Ken Giles might be a little bit older.
Yeah, he has one less year than Osuna.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't... Man, I don't know. Like, Roberto Osuna is an elite closer with a 10-cent brain. I think we can all agree on that. I agree with Justin in that he is definitely going to get at least 100 more saves, assuming that he isn't a head case and that he's not going to get convicted. I could see him doing that. If he hadn't done what he did, I could see him saving 300 or 400 games in MLB and being a star for a long time. But this is hard to come back from. Even players who have experienced, or I shouldn't say that, even players who are involved in domestic abuse cases, they don't come back and they're not elite. I wouldn't really say that Chapman is, elite, or that maybe he never was. He definitely has a fast fastball, but he's not a world breaker. As for our return, Justin told me a little bit about Hector Perez. I don't know much about him because I don't know too much about the Astros system. David Paulino got caught juicing, so he had an 80-game suspension, and before that, he was very highly touted as a prospect, and now he's not even in, or he wasn't even in the top 20 in Houston's system. So, I really don't know if it even matters at this point. It's mostly about getting Roberto Osuna off our roster. I think it was mentioned after the fact that he was never going to play another game for us anyway. So, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. I feel like as far as how we should treat the trade. Ken Giles will be serviceable. I don't think he'll be the next Roberto Osuna. I'm excited about Hector Perez and what he might bring, but I defer to Justin as far as
I did
the
my
analysis on those two.
Yeah, okay. What's the deal
All
with
right.
those two there?
So I'll talk a bit about Giles first. He hits 100 miles an hour on his fastball. They call him Ken 100 Miles Giles.
Boo, bad
Boo.
nickname.
Yeah, it's not great. So he's had he gets a literal shit ton of strikeouts. He's struck out better than 11 batters, better than 12 batters per 9 innings in his career in the big leagues, while walking less than 3, and his home run numbers are very low as well. Close to 50% ground balls, which is nice. Career ERA is 2.72 and xFIP 2.82, so he's a pretty solid relief pitcher. He's had some issues with Houston management this year. There was the incident where he punched himself in the head when he was walking out the field after a bad outing, and then he had some problems with the manager in Houston there. We talked about it a bit last week, where he told him to F off, and they had a little bit of an argument, and then they sent it to AAA, where he hasn't been very good. But obviously, with the other trades that happened today, we need bullpen help, so he's going to slot him into our bullpen immediately as soon as we can get him there, kind of thing. Other than that, Perez, he's from the Dominican, mid to upper 90s fastball, great secondary pitches. He's had some walk issues throughout his career, but he made some adjustments to his delivery a month and a half ago, and his walks have dropped from about 19% to 9% since that time. He was ranked number 7 on Houston's top prospects list. And MLB Pipeline actually showed him up at number 11 on our list, which is between Sean Reed-Foley and Ryan Baracki.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that he's highly thought of in terms of a pitching prospect. He's 22, so he's still in that good development time. Likely behind Reed-Foley and Baracki in his development, may compete for a rotation spot in 2020, in my opinion. Paulinho is kind of a long shot, sort of what we call him a lottery ticket prospect. He had Tommy Johns in 2014, some tendonitis issues, violated some team rules, and then he had the PED suspension for 80 games in 2017. So he's only pitched about 70 innings in his minor league career, but he's also started 6 or 7 games in the big leagues, most recently last season, where his ERA was 6.52, which isn't great. He gave up 8 home runs, I believe, in 30 innings. So that led to that. His record was 2-0 if we care about win-loss.
We do. You don't. We do.
xFIP was 4.11, so that's if home run numbers are normal. Strikeouts were good, 10.5 per 9. Walks were only 2. He got hit around quite a bit, obviously by the home run numbers, and the BABIP was 3.54. So, I mean, all things considered, we have a gutted rotation right now due to some injuries to Sanchez and obviously with the trade of Happ. I think he'll go to Buffalo for a little while, but if he's pitching well, we may see him get an earlier call-up than September.
Yeah.
But likely when the rosters expand, he's probably a guy, along with Reed-Foley, they're kind of in that same neighborhood where we could see him at least get a start or 2 or some bullpen work in September. So that's the scoop on those guys.
We're going to talk about our other bullpen moves with O and Loop and those guys, but first let's talk about the Happ deal a little bit because I like what I see from Brandon Drury so far. At third base, it's only like 2 or 3 games for a sample size.
Yeah.
But those plays he was making in his first game at third against the Sox, he was looking smooth. He looked right at home at third base.
That's his spot.
This is crap, though, because we have like the best third base prospect of all time just sitting there in AAA. What do you do with a guy like Brandon Drury who has made a good first impression, but he can play all over the field? Like, I'll ask you first, Patrick, where do you think Brandon Drury's future with this team is?
Like in the short term or the long term?
Both, short and long term.
Okay, short term, he'll be our starting third baseman probably until the end of the season, unless he gets injured or somebody else gets injured or who knows.
Or Donaldson comes back.
Yeah, or until Josh Donaldson comes back. If that happens this year, I don't know if his timetable has changed since last week, but there's no reason at this point not to just do that. Take our time with Vladdy Jr., who just got the call up to go to Buffalo, which is, great news for him. In the long term, obviously with Vladdy coming up, unless they move Vladdy to first, which they're probably not going to do, Drury's just going to be long term a utility infielder for us. But we'll see a lot of action as long as we want to keep him. I do like his defense, though. I think he'll be extremely serviceable.
I think he's our new Ryan Goins. That's what I think of Brandon Drury. I think of a guy who can play all over the outfield. I think of a guy who can, looks like he can swing the bat pretty well. Looks like he's got a nice swing with some nice pop in it. It looks like he's a little bit more of a power hitter Ryan Goins, but maybe not as fast. I mean, he's a heck of an athlete, and he is pretty fast, but it doesn't seem like he's, as shifty kind of fast as him. But I like the pickup of Brandon Drury. It's always nice to have those guys who have the versatility. They can play anywhere in the infield, because infielders get hurt all the time. Bill McKinney, don't really know too much about him. Is there anything to get excited about him, Professor Justin Anderson, or no?
Billy McKinney, yeah, he's kind of interesting. He was a first-round pick of the A's back in 2013. He played in a couple of games with the Yankees this season. That was his MLB debut. Picked up his first hit. It may have actually been against us, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing it on the highlights, so I can't remember for sure if it was us. Career slash line in the minors is 272 with a 350 on base and a 428 slugging. He plays solid outfield defense. Should Curtis Granderson be moved prior to the August 31st waiver deadline, they think Billy McKinney might be the guy to replace him. He was stuck behind Brett Gardner, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton in New York, so pretty tough to break into an outfield when you have those guys there. So
yeah.
And the same can be said for Drury, who was the Yankees starting third baseman on opening day, but they placed him on a DL about a week in with severe migraines, and then rookie Miguel Anjudar came in and just ran away with the position. So Drury was stuck again in AAA. He kind of pinballed back and forth. So we've kind of got a couple of Yankee cast-offs, so to speak. They just didn't have a place on their roster right now, and they really couldn't afford to keep them because they're good players and they can get something for them. And they obviously got Jay Happ, who pitched 6 great innings for them.
Did you hear what happened to Jay Happ today, though? He contracted foot, mouth, and hand disease.
I think that's fake news.
Is it fake news?
I haven't seen confirmation of it.
I saw it on the Score, and I was like, what?
Yeah, see, it's on Sportsnet now, I guess. So I guess it is a thing.
He contracted foot, mouth, and hand disease.
Hand, foot, and mouth disease, yeah. So that's the second pitcher New York to have Noah Syndergaard is on the DL with that right now.
I would be so pissed if I was the Yankees right now trading. I mean, they're not huge parts of their future, but I mean, you're really relying on Happ just to be the guy for a couple weeks, and he's not going to be there for a couple weeks.
It's interesting. We're not sure how long he's going to be out. It's kind of one of those things that just takes time for it to go away. I'm not a doctor, so I don't even really know what it is, but it's in his hand, his foot, and his mouth apparently.
Yeah. So let's talk about the relievers we gave away here, because again, Sangwon Oh, he's gone to Colorado. We also gave up Aaron Loop. He plays for the Philadelphia Phillies now, and Axford is going to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Out of all 3 of those relief pitchers, who do you think is gonna have the bigger impact right now for the Jays? Like, who are we going to miss the most out of those 3 guys? Not future, but for this season. I know the season's a write-off, but who do you think we're going to miss the most?
Sangwon. He was the best of the 3 this year. Excuse me. Just straight up, that's all I can say is he was the best of the 3.
Patrick, agreed?
I mean, I really enjoyed seeing the X-Man get a start, and he was pretty good in it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think proved that he was our strongest bullpen arm throughout the year. Obviously, Roberto Osuna notwithstanding for obvious reasons. But I do think Axford did give us somewhat of a bullpen pitching day option, and he proved himself. But, yeah, had another year of control, didn't he?
He had a team. He has a $2.5 million team option next season. But it becomes a vested option should he pitch in 70 games, and he's currently worked 50. So he's getting close to that mark where he'll be locked in. But I mean, $2.5 million for a guy who signed a 1-year, $2 million contract is a pretty good bargain for as good as he's been.
Yeah. Out of all of the players that we got back today, who are you the most excited about? And who is the guy who do you think is going to be like a shocker in the next couple of years?
Honest,
like, wow, I can't believe we got him in a trade. Let's go to Patrick first.
Yeah,
Patrick,
go to Patrick.
again, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact for the Jays? Who do you think is going to be like our underrated prospect?
I think it's Hector Perez, just because he's young and there's more time for him to kind of develop. I don't know exactly where he'll fit into our roster next year. You'd have to ask Justin, but I'm most excited for him. And maybe the more I read about Chad Spanberger?
Yeah,
Spanberger. Yeah. Him from Colorado. It's nice to have a first baseman prospect of sorts. So I think he might end up being somebody we see sooner than we think. I'm not trying to throw shade at Smoke or Morales or whoever.
I would say Ken Giles is going to be the guy that flies under the radar for the Jays and turns into a very good pickup.
There's a lot of people saying that we'll flip him for prospects again next season at this time if he pitches well. So
I think he's going to be a pretty good pickup for the Jays here.
It's kind of iffy, right?
Because again, he chucks 100, and guys who are like that, fireball pitchers, they just need the right environments. They need the environment where they're going to get a lot of appearances. They need that consistency. They can't be sitting on the bench for 4 or 5 days in between appearances.
Yeah.
I just think that he needs a change of scenery, and I think that he's going to be called upon a lot.
He's
going to
get a chance,
because we have zero bullpen help right now. Like, it is absolutely disgusting. Let's talk about Vladdy Jr. though right now, shall we? Or do you guys want to talk about anything else Blue Jay trade related?
Can I weigh in on this whole which player is the most important thing?
Yeah,
I like Chad Spanberger. Thanks, Patrick, for segueing into that. He's playing in full season A ball. This year he's batting .318 with a .944 OPS. He reported to our single A Lansing Lugnuts team. Recorded 4 hits in his first 10 at bats. That was going into yesterday, I believe, maybe even this morning. I can't remember when I checked this. He was a 6th round draft pick in 2016. His first 2 seasons of ball, he's hit 41 homers in his first couple of years. He's 22 years old. If the offense keeps up, he could progress pretty quickly through our first base rankings. We don't have too many great first basemen in our prospect pool. And he could honestly be in line to replace Justin Smoke when Smokey's contract is up. His contract's up this year, but we'll pick up his option. So 2020, we could see Chad Spanberger as a 24-year-old, depending when his birthday is a starting first baseman, or at least in the conversation come spring training. I saw some videos of his defense, and he does look really solid there too. Those first basemen are usually pretty polished because it's a tough position to play when you have to handle everybody. They're kind of like the catcher of the infield, so to speak, where they work with everybody. So I'm excited about him. Even Forrest Wall, who we got in that trade, I think those two, the guys we got for our very first trade with are probably the 2 best players that we may have got. I do like Hector Perez too, as Patrick said, but I think those first 2 guys I'm most excited about, honestly.
I will say the real catcher of the infield is the catcher.
Well,
but,
he's not fielding balls from every position.
I know.
That was my thing.
Let's talk about Vladdy Jr. though, because I love talking about Vladdy Jr.
I have some updates on him too.
Yeah, so Vladdy Jr. he's playing for Buffalo.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he would have stayed in AA just so we could see how good the Fisher Cats could have been. That's my selfish reasons. I know it's the right move. I know he's going to get better because of this. I know that, but I'm just selfish, and I wanted to see the Fisher Cats win it all with that team, with Biggio and Bichette and Vladdy. How long do you think he's going to be in AAA for? The rest of the year?
Rest of the year.
Couple months? I think he's going to get called up at the end of the year.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised, considering how cautious they've been with him. They let him bat .400 for like 4 months in AA. He walked in his first at bat in AAA, by the way, just about 5 minutes ago.
Nice.
So that, and then Danny Jansen singled it after that. They didn't score, but they're both on base.
Yeah.
2 guys we love. So he's off to a decent start.
So, Patrick, how long do you think Vladdy's going to be in AAA, and do you think that's the right move for him right now? Like, what do you think they should do with him?
I'm going to go with the hot take that our starting third baseman for the 2019 season will be Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
That's not a hot take.
I think, I mean, I don't think it'll be that much of a surprise.
No.
I think the call up to AAA is perfect timing, gives him, a little bit of time. I do not think that he will get called up to MLB this season. There's no reason to do it. We've got more than enough players that can play third base right now, and there's no reason to rush our number one prospect, arguably the number one prospect in all of baseball, that everybody's watching and waiting to see what will happen. Might as well start him first game of the new season next year.
Yeah.
Give the fans something to go see.
I think if the Jays completely shit the bed down the stretch, we bring him up just because we can sell some tickets that way at the end of the year. I mean, I know that's not the right reason to bring up a prospect, and I don't think that'll be the only reason we do it, but I bet you if the Jays are just horrible, and I think they're going to be real bad down the stretch here, I bet you they call him up just to be like, okay, we need something to go right for us right now. Like, we need something to be excited for, because playing out an MLB season, like that last month, just playing it out knowing you're not going to be good, like, sure, it's good to get a look at those other guys, but you want to see Vladdy. I know I think he's ready to. I would say, it would be awesome if we give him some more time and make him more ready, but I would say he's ready. He would be ready for that September call-up. Maybe not ready now, but I think September call-up he'd be ready.
Yeah.
I might be in the minority on that. I might be in the majority of that. It's such a it's like a 50-50 thing right now with Jays fans.
Yeah.
Should we call him up? Should we not? And it's not one of those irrational debates where it's like, oh no, do it because just this reason, whatever. People actually think it through and be like, okay, on this is the positive, this is the negative. Usually Blue Jay fans, when they debate, it's just a gong show. This is actually kind of a...
Yeah. They say the reason that he hasn't being called up, his bat is ready.
Mm-hmm.
His defense is what they're trying to work on, because he's going to play defense. He's not going to DH.
Yeah.
What I believe will happen is what the Braves did with Ronald Acuna this season, where they waited until you have to for a prospect to accrue 1 year of Major League Service time, they have to play in 150 games.
Yeah.
So basically, you wait 12 games. Or you wait 13 games, then you call up your prospects, and you get an extra year of team control.
Yeah.
So the Braves could have called Acuna up on the 14th of April. They chose to wait until the 25th because he wasn't playing well.
Gotcha.
And then they did that. So they secured another year before he hits free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think will happen. We'll see Vladdy before the end of April in 2019. I don't think he'll start because we want to keep that extra year of team control. I'd love to see it, but from a pure baseball team management standpoint, it'd be foolish for us to waste a year of Vladdy control when we can keep him around for a full extra season if we wait 13 games.
Any more Vladdy talk there, Patrick?
That's a really good point. I hadn't actually thought of when it came to team control on Vladdy. I like that a lot, but I still think he's going to be starting game one next year.
Yeah,
because Donaldson's not coming back, and it's just the sexy thing to do. And I just like... what do you think, Clayton?
It would be such a disappointment if he's not in the lineup opening day next year.
Yeah.
Because Jays opening day, I mean, I still remember opening day as the one day I cared about because the Jays were such shit.
You took the day off.
That I'd always take the day off for Jays opening day because that was the one day that mattered. And it was like, that's still kind of the feel, though. Even though we had those two awesome playoff years, opening day is the day because they get to run out onto the field. And Vladdy's intro is going to be unreal. He's going to get such an ovation. They're going to have to delay the whole ceremony and stuff like that. Like if they do that April shit to him, I'll be so upset as a fan. Like, you're robbing me of this. Like I have to wait another year for this. No, I would not be happy with that. Again, that's a selfish reason. I wanted him selfishly to stay in AA. I want him selfishly to be in the lineup next year. I know it's beneficial to do the opposite of that. I know it is. In the long run it is, but I'm selfish. I can't help that.
It's fair. It's a fair thing.
Let's close the book on Vladdy Jr. Let's get back to some more trades, just in the MLB world.
Yeah.
Not just the Blue Jay world, the MLB world. What trade kind of caught you by surprise the most today? And here's the thing. I napped all afternoon, and then I went and did a house inspection for a house that I'm looking at. Foundation sucked. Oof. So that's a huge kick in the balls. But Patrick, let's start with you. The trade that kind of shocked you the most today.
I was surprised to see Chris Archer get moved so quickly.
So that's the one trade I know of today. The rest I have no idea. So just a heads up, you guys are going to have to anchor this talk here for the trades.
You know what? I'm totally fine with that because
it's the big
I've been saying for a long time the Pittsburgh Pirates are sneaky good.
Mm-hmm. You have.
And now yes, they had to part ways with Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow, which are very good prospects that could end up being even more
Yeah,
for
Meadows is
Tampa.
great.
But Chris Archer right now is pretty damn good, and this really solidifies Pittsburgh, I think, as a strong contender now and in the future. Right now, they're kind of stuck in the middle of a log jam of teams between like 55 and 65 wins or something like that. So like they got a lot of work to do, but it kind of seems to me like trading to get Chris Archer is a sign that Pittsburgh is serious about climbing out of the dumpster uh, in the bottom of the NL Central and really pushing teams like Chicago and Milwaukee for the supremacy at the top of the standings.
Do you think they have the firepower right now to battle with those teams, though? Because Milwaukee looks great. And Pittsburgh, yes, Archer's a good get, but they don't have Cole anymore. And, their lineup isn't what it was 4 or 5 years ago when they were surprising teams. What do you think Pittsburgh's realistic chance of making the playoffs are?
This year?
Yeah.
Probably, well, after this trade, I would say better than 50%. But they're by no means are they a lock because they still have a lot of work to do before they climb back up the standings. I could see them stealing away like one of the wild cards. I don't think they can win that division. There's just too much firepower on Chicago. And even though Milwaukee's playing really good, I don't have that much faith in that team. But I think in the long term, if you look at Pittsburgh's rotation, even though they did just lose a couple big pieces, like you had just mentioned, man, something tells me that the Pirates are they might not win the division this year, but next year I would be very, very afraid of that pitching staff.
Well, Justin, do you think Archer is going to be with Pittsburgh next year?
Yeah, he's under control for a couple more years.
Okay.
Do you guys want the odds? So according to Fangraphs, the Pirates have a 1.8% chance of winning that division. They're currently 7 games back. They'd have to leap the Brewers and the Cubs. And they've got a 13.2% chance of winning the wild card and a 15.1% chance of just getting there. So the odds, even though this is like going into today's action, and obviously they have Chris Archer now, so it's going to be curious to check these odds tomorrow to see how everything changes after deadline day. But that's an outside shot of even getting to the wild card game, let alone winning it. I think what the Pirates are doing is setting themselves up to win, not this year, but potentially next year. It's tough for them to be a team who's 3 games over 500 right now, and be 7 games back with 2 months of season left to make a big enough splash to gain that much ground. And obviously one pitcher, Archer's going to play once every 5 days. So even if they win every time he starts, that's only 1 win of every 5 guaranteed kind of thing. I think it's still the biggest trade of the day. I love Austin Meadows. Humble brag, I drafted him in my Dynasty League a few years ago, and I'm very pumped that he's going to be a starting fielder in Tampa Bay now. So I actually I can pull him on my minor system if I choose to. And Glasnow is an interesting guy too. I believe he's left. No, he's right-handed. Sorry, he's 6'8". He's huge. They tried starting him earlier in the season, but they moved him to the bullpen, and he's had some better results there. So I mean, he's 24. I think that's kind of like Meadows was the big get.
Yeah.
Glasnow's a guy that Tampa Bay needs a starting pitcher because on their depth chart going into today,
it was only Chris Archer.
Blake Snell's on the DL.
Yeah.
So they have him. But other than that, Chris Archer was their only starting
just
pitcher.
going bullpen
according
days
to the MLB.com
all week
depth
long.
chart. So it's bullpen days forever in Tampa Bay, which I think their AAA guys are going to get a lot of experience this season, which is awesome for those AAA guys who are all of a sudden like, hey, we are now starting pitchers to the Tampa Bay Rays because they have nobody else.
Any other trades kind of tickle your fancy today, kind of catch your attention at all? Or
the Brewers got Jonathan Scope from the Orioles, which is kind of interesting. They had picked up Moustakas, so their infield is actually very, very crowded now, which is strange. But still a good trade. They're just trying to shore up their depth there. Other than that, like everything else was honestly pretty unspectacular, I guess you could say. We didn't see.
I don't know about that.
Patrick,
Well, what do you
go
think,
on.
Patrick?
Well, I mean, I think it's a big deal that your boy Wilson Ramos went to the Phillies.
Yeah.
I think that's a
It's a good
sign
deal
that
for Phillies.
Philadelphia really wants to fight with Atlanta. They also picked up elite reliever Aaron Loop from Toronto. But also, the Rays also went and picked up Tommy Pham.
Yeah,
from the Cardinals.
that is an interesting deal from the Cardinals. Out of the blue, they traded Tommy Pham. So
break that down for us, because I don't quite understand.
So there's been a ton of rumors lately that Tommy Pham wasn't happy in St. Louis. I don't know why. This is just a sign from me. Like the Rays' starting outfield, as it stands now, is Kevin Kiermaier, Austin Meadows, and Pham. So it's kind of strange that. So Pham said when he woke up this morning, he said, "I was really shocked. When you wake up and your boss is calling you, telling you got traded, it's pretty shocking." Obviously, he's 30 years old though, which I was kind of surprised by. I thought he was younger, but the Rays also got $500,000 of international signing bonus allocation for this too, and they sent back 3 minor league players who I honestly know nothing about. This is Tampa Bay, and who cares? It seems like the Cardinals aren't going to make the playoffs. And I think they're just trying to get some value for a guy who's having a very good year. He's batting .248, but he's got 14 homers. He steals 10 bases. Last year he had .306, so it's kind of interesting. He's been a center fielder, but he won't play there obviously because they have Kiermaier.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. He's eligible for arbitration this coming winter, so they still have 3 years of team control. And Kevin Cash said he's probably going to start tomorrow night when he gets there and they play the LA Angels. So it's strange. It opens up a space for Tyler O'Neill to start in St. Louis, which is nice for them. Still kind of strange. I don't know. It's strange. Like Tyler O'Neill's a good Canadian boy, so I'm pretty excited that he's from Maple Ridge, BC, home of Justin Morneau.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that he's going to get a shot to play. So good for him. But yeah, I agree, Patrick. I kind of forgot about Pham once the Archer news broke, and I started focusing on Blue Jays stuff for our show about Pham. But yeah, that's an interesting deal, and it's weird that Tampa Bay is building their lineup almost from the outfield in, as they have no starting pitching currently.
A mess of a franchise.
So it's quite interesting what they're doing. I think they're kind of trying to set themselves up for maybe a 2020 competitive run.
Yeah.
It seems like Tampa Bay is good 1 year out of every 5 or so. So
all right, let's close the book on trades. Unless you guys have anything else.
I'm good with.
I do. One more.
Who does?
Brian Dozier went to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They also picked up Axford. I think once again we're looking at a season where that particular division is just going to be the Dodgers reigning supreme once again. So welcome your
the D-backs did some stuff too. So I don't know. I wouldn't rule them out.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I don't know. I welcome our Dodger overlords back to the top of the NL West because I don't like the Diamondbacks. I never have.
Why not?
I never will.
Paul Goldschmidt's a very likable guy.
Because they had Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling at the same time, and I didn't think that was very fair.
And Luis Gonzalez.
You're so bitter, Patrick.
Yeah, that's
like 10 years
true.
ago.
I am.
All right, let's close the book on trades here. I just want to point out one thing. Patrick, who was it that said the Blue Jays were going to sweep the Minnesota Twins last week?
Look, I got the Osuna
I just
thing
can't
right.
remember. I can't remember who
care.
said that. I can't. Was it one of our listeners in Montana? Was it one of them?
Didn't you and I think they were going to get
we do have a ton of listeners in Montana,
That's
so it
huge
might have been
amount.
one of them.
The
But I
geographical-
can't remember who said that.
Yes, I said we'd go 5-0, and we ended up going
We
2-3.
got shit kicked against Minnesota.
Yeah,
I've
it
never
wasn't even
seen the
close.
Jays play that bad this year.
especially
Like,
at home.
It was really, really tough to watch. We're just going to ignore it.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, let's just kind of go past the Twin series. Let's not talk about the Oakland game yesterday as well, because holy shit. Against the White Sox,
Let's go talk
though,
about the White Sox.
let's talk about this White Sox series. We can talk about it a little bit, but really let's just talk about Gurriel Jr. because, I mean,
There's some
when you
stuff to
tie
touch on.
Shoeless Joe Jackson for a record, you know
As a
you're
rookie
doing
re-
something
rookie
right.
record,
yeah.
yeah.
So good for him. Gurriel Jr. 11 straight multi-hit games as a rookie. That's crazy. That's an
Unbelievable.
unreal stat.
Yeah.
Sucks that he gets hurt. I mean, like,
And
classic
we don't really
Jays.
know. It's an ankle and a knee sprain,
Mhm.
but no one. All we've been told is that as Gurriel said, his ankle feels worse than his knee.
Well, the one thing is it's a knee bruise, apparently.
Yeah.
And knee bruises can be
Yeah.
tricky.
They are.
Like, as it's just like, it's not a real, like, it's an in-between of, like, a meaty part of the body and a
Yeah.
bony part of the body. Like, it's both. So, like,
Yeah.
you never know how a bruise is going to heal. If you get a bruise on your shin, you know it's going to be there a while. But if
Yeah.
you get a meaty part of your body, it'll
Yeah,
heal
whatever.
relatively quick, you know? So
You
it's
can
just,
kind of
you
blow
never
through it.
know with a knee bruise.
Yeah.
It just sucks that he's on a tear and then he gets hurt like this.
Yeah.
Gurriel Jr., does another Blue Jay rookie remind you of this guy, or is he set the bar for Blue Jay rookies now?
In terms of this record, the fact that we saw him earlier in the season and he didn't look that great,
Mm-hmm.
and then since he's been back, obviously he's been on a frickin' tear,
Mm-hmm.
batting over 500 in his recent
Yeah.
call up. So I mean, what can you say about that? Not a lot. That's pretty freaking impressive. No, I'm as far as rookie standout performances to start. I mean, we saw Aaron Sebia with a great first game,
Yeah.
and even Brett Laurie had a good start. But we've seen a lot of guys come up. Like Eric Hinsky still has the best Blue Jays rookie season.
So that's
in
what I
my
was going to
lifetime.
say. Yeah.
But if we saw Gurriel, obviously nobody can do this for a full year.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy talk. But I think he would kind of rival Eric Hinsky's season over the course of a full year. And hopefully we get to see him for a full season next year.
Mm-hmm.
We likely will. Hopefully we get to
about-
see more of him soon.
What about Jose Cruz Jr.? Because I believe his rookie year was with Toronto, was it not?
Let's look that up.
Because I remember Jose Cruz Jr. being a stud when he was a kid for the Jays.
Yeah, he
but
was
he had
great.
that 1 year and that was it. It seems like the Jays rookies always have one good year
Mm-hmm.
and then they're done. Do you think that's the case? And Patrick, I'll ask you because Justin's looking something up.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll be the case for Gurriel Jr.? Do you think he's going to pull a Hinsky or a Cruz Jr. or something like that?
No, I think that we're seeing what Gurriel is capable of right now. It is really, really hard to do what he's doing right now, or
Very
what
hard.
he's already done.
Yeah.
We cannot understate that enough.
Mhm.
He tied a 107-year-old Major League Baseball record, meaning the thousands of players who have played since Shoeless Joe Jackson, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by
Yeah.
the way. It's blowing my mind. I called it earlier in the year. I had my hot take where I said he was going to be an all-star next year. We're seeing it now.
Yeah, we are.
All of our chickens are coming home to roost, I guess you could say. All of our prospects and good
You guys
young
don't
players
farm in
are
Nova
starting
Scotia.
to do
what are you
what
talking about?
Yeah.
we want to see them do. It's exciting.
Farm fish. That's all you farm. Yeah, don't be talking about farming to a couple prairie boys over here.
So I have the Jose Cruz Jr. info.
Yeah.
So he debuted in 1997, started the year with Seattle, played 49 games, and then was dealt to us, where he played 55 games. He finished second in Rookie of the Year voting.
Okay.
So you were correct that he did have a solid year. He finished with 248 average, 26 homers. His OPS was 814. So I mean, pretty good start for a rookie. In 104 games only as well. He didn't play in 58 games. And that was one of his better years in the bigs for sure. So I mean, yeah, that's another good Blue Jay rookie who, albeit wasn't a full season with us, but
Yeah.
was a great year.
Who would you say is having, and this might be an obvious answer, but to me, I think it is the not obvious answer. Who do you think is having the more exciting rookie season? Is it Ryan Baracki, who has been killing it, and we need pitching? So that's kind of exciting to see a young Jays pitcher killing it right now because we
Yeah.
need starting pitching, or is it Gurriel Jr.? Who are you more excited about?
I'm more excited about Gurriel. I'm surprised by the success that Baraki's having.
Okay.
Pleasantly surprised, happily surprised, not shocked. I do remember that I wanted Sean Reid-Foley instead, but now that we do not have a left-handed pitcher besides Ryan Baraki in our rotation, it's important that he's there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been outstanding. I mean, we saw 2 great starts for him this past week. He's only had that one Ralph outing, and was it against Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, good for him. That's a tough team to play against for anybody. Yeah. So I think Gurriel's having a better season, but Baraki has been awesome.
I would say I'm more excited for Baraki because we have a lot of depth in our minors system right now with a bunch of players. So again, another awesome outfielder, infielder kind of guy, or infielder, I guess, for Gurriel Jr. But, I mean, we do not have a lot of great pitching prospects. So when I started to see Ryan Baraki, that's the thing, we do now with Baraki and Sean Reid-Foley and these guys, but when I started to see Ryan Baraki throw, I was like, wow, we got another young guy that's going to be good. And I didn't think that we had a lot of young guys that were going to be good when it came to pitching. So I'm more excited about Baraki than Gurriel Jr., even with the week or 2 that he's had. What about you, Patrick?
Oh man, you're both making some really good points here. I can't get over the fact that Gurriel is currently tied with a record that is 107 years old.
That's nuts.
It's pretty crazy. We talk about
but that being
DiMaggio's
said,
hit streak too, right? And like, this is another record that was like almost untouchable for a while.
Yep. That being said, Ryan Baraki is... What he's doing is also very, very exciting, probably because we didn't expect it from him as much as we expected it from someone like Gurriel or Guerrero or Bichette. Baraki obviously was a highly touted prospect of ours, but the fact that he jumped up into MLB, and what's his FIP right now, Justin? Do you hear a computer? You must have the stats somewhere.
I'm on his Fangraphs page, of course. His ERA is 2.83. FIP is 250. His xFIP is 4.24, but as mentioned last week, he hasn't given up a home run yet, and xFIP uses the average 11.5% home runs per fly ball. So, I mean, once he gives up a home run, that number is going to change a little bit. But, I mean, he's pitching incredibly well, to say the least.
I don't think we've seen a left-handed starter start with us like this in a long time.
No, and the thing he's doing really well is he's not walking. I can't think of a
lefty pitcher who really is doing what he's doing right now.
Not one of our young homegrown guys anyway. No. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's not walking people. He's walking less than 3 per 9, which is awesome. Striking out about 7, which is his career average. He's actually getting hit around pretty well, a 342 clip on the BABIP. But he's stranding runners. He's getting close to 50% ground balls, and he hasn't given up a home run yet. So, I mean, as long as he can limit the contact, he's probably going to do fine as a big league starter. And so far, his contact numbers are really solid. So, good for him. I'm pumped.
All right, that was kind of the week that was. Again, we're never going to talk about that Twin series again. And because that was horrible. I just can't get over how bad we looked in that Twin series.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad. So we talked about the trades. We talked about the Jays. We kind of touched on the week that was. We talked about Gurriel Jr. We're going to have a little fun here now.
Let's do it.
With our Blue Jay dream lineup. This is our roundtable discussion today. Our dream Blue Jays lineup. We can pick any player from any era in Blue Jay history, and we're going to make the dream lineup. And this is them in their prime. Mm-hmm. And I see your guys' lineup. I haven't put mine in yet. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise.
No, we're kind of surprised by yours.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to go a little bit off the board with some of these.
Of course
you
are.
Here's the thing. Like, we all know that some are obvious. I'm just going to kind of joke with some and kind of go that way. But I think we can all agree. First baseman, Carlos Delgado.
Yeah.
Round the board.
Let's go position by position around the
with
field.
all of us first baseman, Carlos Delgado, right?
Everybody's got to have Carlos. I mean...
Does anyone else compete with Carlos for first base?
No.
No.
Not in a Blue Jays uniform.
Overbay? Like, that's the only name that comes to mind, and that's bad when that's the only name that comes to mind.
John Olerud was great.
Johnny O, yeah.
Johnny O was awesome. He's one of our franchise leaders in defensive runs saved.
Yeah.
So.
Second base, again, Roberto Alomar.
Our Hall of Famer.
I know he's our Hall of Famer, but I gotta pick Alomar. You can't. He's probably
Yeah.
the greatest J. But man, do I want to pick Orlando Hudson for second base.
Oh, the O-Dog.
I
love the O-Dog.
The O-Dog. O-Dog was, you couldn't understand a goddamn word that came out of his mouth. His post-game
was so
interviews
happy all the
were
time. He was the
hilarious.
best.
Like everyone says, oh yeah, I couldn't understand Minoru Kawasaki. I could understand Kawasaki better than Homer Bush.
Yeah.
Homer Bush was the fastest talker. He was the best fielder. He was so good at second base. Not a bad leadoff guy, and just a good guy in the community. So it sucks that we got a guy like Alomar as our second baseman, but I think second is Orlando Hudson.
Yeah.
Aaron Hill is another guy that might be a second base
Those are my top 3.
candidate. I think those are our top 3. Are we missing anyone there, Patrick?
No, nobody that I can think of. I think the best J of all time has got to be Roberto Alomar, and it's close in some places.
Yeah.
But if on the Mount Rushmore of the Toronto Blue Jays, Delgado and Alomar are the hitters, for sure.
I am saying that Homer Bush is also up there too because I just liked Homer
You
Bush.
just
He
like
was
him.
only there for like a year.
It's got a
but
hell of a name.
Whatever. Shortstop.
Yeah, this is where things get interesting a bit.
Patrick's going Tulo?
I know.
You
I
gotta
have to do
explain
it,
that.
man.
You gotta
Yeah,
explain
why
that
are
a
you
little
picking
bit.
Tulo?
Yeah.
I don't even care that he played like not even 2 full seasons with us. I love Tulo. And look, Tony Fernandez was great. I can't. I got to go with Tulo. I got to go with my heart.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
see,
more
when I
Tulowitzki.
did this, I picked guys who played well when they were in Blue Jay uniforms.
Tulo played well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he played great, but he played
He didn't
well.
play better than Tony Fernandez did in a Blue Jay uniform.
Well,
Are you
Tony
kidding
Fernandez was great.
me? Yeah, he's the best Blue Jay shortstop of all time.
Well, according to you on your list, yeah. I would say that your criticism for Tulo isn't warranted. I would say Tulo is, again, a top 3 pick for shortstop for the Jays.
I don't even know if I put him top 3.
I just think his star power is up there, too, because it's Troy Tulowitzki, and the Jays never have shortstops
I
like that.
went purely based on on-field performance in the time they were in Blue Jay uniforms. And since he's been in the Blue Jay uniform, if it was Colorado Rockies Troy Tulowitzki, he's
Yeah.
number 1 pick.
Okay,
But
who else then than Tulo and Tony Fernandez are you going to put
Alex
for...
Gonzalez was great for the Blue Jays.
Alex Gonzalez.
Oh my God.
He was so overrated.
How about Russ Adams, my
I
boy?
was just about to say Russ Adams, probably one of the biggest busts in Blue Jay history.
Oh man, that poor guy. I mean, I feel bad for him.
We're missing one guy, and I
Ricky
can't
Henderson?
believe absolutely not. We're missing Johnny Mack, and Johnny Mack is my pick for the all-time lineup. Johnny Mack was a vacuum. Nothing got by him, guys. Remember watching Johnny Mack highlights? Like before there were Kevin Pillar highlights, there were Johnny Mack highlights. And the one thing is Johnny Mack was he was a suitcase. He traveled around a lot in the league. But Johnny Mack, I mean, remember his grand slam that he hit that one time and
Yeah.
how the
Remember
bench
the Father's Day home
the
run after
bench
his
just
dad
went
passed away?
nuts.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
everyone was
the-
like,
some great
Johnny Mack,
moments.
man, hit a home run. How come you guys don't like Johnny Mack?
I love Johnny Mack.
Johnny Mack was probably top 3 of my favorite Jays of all time.
He's not an all-star though.
No, he's not.
He's not an all-time dream Blue Jays
Yeah,
roster
he is
guy.
for his fielding.
Come
I would say
on,
because
Clayton.
again, Tony Fernandez. One thing, yeah, I hated the way that Tony Fernandez
Spicy
batted,
takes here.
and it wasn't like he was, overly huge all-star numbers and stuff like that. He was really good. And then again, Tulo, whatever. There isn't enough shortstops in Jays history that are good. So that's why you got to put Johnny Mack in there.
The thing I'll give you on John McDonald is he is tied with Aaron Hill for 8th all time on defensive WAR for the
Yeah,
Blue Jays, but
okay.
Tony Fernandez is by and far away number 1 on that
Mhm.
list, which is why I picked him because the shortstop's got to defend.
Yeah.
Tony Fernandez also 5th place in all-time Blue Jays batting average, 1st in games
So
played.
you went by stats. We're
I
going
went
with
by
heart,
guys
man.
who were good when they were in Blue Jay uniforms. I think that's important for an all-time Blue Jays dream lineup. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna pick a guy like I say. What if I was the biggest Alex Rios fan? I'm not. But what if I loved Alex Rios and I said Alex Rios is the best right fielder in Blue Jays history? You guys
Yeah.
would think I was crazy
Before his home run derby,
just
yeah.
because I like the
After
guy.
his home
I
run derby.
love John McDonald too, but I don't think he's the best anywhere near the top shortstop discussion in Blue Jays history. Defensively, yes.
Okay.
But overall, not even close.
All right, let's move on to third base. Obviously, it's Corey Koski around the board, right? Do we even need to discuss it even more?
Okay,
No?
I had a tough time not picking Koski.
Why? I was a joke. Corey Koski
He
was
was good.
horrible
I like
for the
the guy.
Jays, man. He was
He's a good-
so bad.
He's a good Canadian boy.
I'd rather put Scott Rowland on
I
this
picked-
list.
I
than
picked the
fucking
Gruber.
Corey Koski. Yeah, Kelly Gruber's classic. Like, was Groobs a good hitter though?
He was all right.
I
yeah.
remember him again. He was kind of like Johnny Mac, a vacuum on third base. He was really good playing the hot corner.
And he did make that triple play.
Yeah, I'm looking at Patrick's list. Josh Donaldson again. He did have the MVP year.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, his second year was pretty good too. But again, 2 years. Does that warrant? Would you say being on this list?
Well, that's why I put him on my list. Let me make the pitch first. Okay? I want you guys to be honest with me. Okay, since 1993, has there been a more exciting season than 2015 and 2016?
Not even
and
close.
Roy Halladay's 2003 Cy Young. I love that year.
No. If I'm right about that, and I know that I am because you guys just agreed with me. Who was the leader of that team that made those seasons possible? And the answer, Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain.
Yeah.
He is.
I think I'm just so
our
sour
best
right now
third
because of Donaldson's recent issues. I think I'm kind of soured by that.
I think Edwin was the better player on those teams, and it's kind of weird that we didn't bring up Edwin for first base because
He's a
of
DH.
Carlos Delgado, but I think we can all agree he's going to be our DH when we come around. Maybe not, we'll see. But I think Edwin, just because, of his English barriers, he doesn't really speak English that well, and because of Jose Batista kind of being like a little bit more of a I'm better than the team kind of guy, I think Josh was kind of the leader of those teams, even though he was the new guy on the block.
Yeah.
And that does bring up a pretty good point. He was the guy firing up the boys. Stroman was still a little too young. Our whole pitching staff was really too young. Other than Burley, you can maybe make the argument that Burley might have been one of the guys on that team to really be a leader. But I think Patrick hit the nail on the head there. Josh was our leader those 2 seasons. And he came up clutch many times for the boys. So I like Josh Donaldson on there. I just can't think of another third baseman outside of Gruber or Donaldson that I would throw out there. Again, Roland,
2
Koski,
years.
some bad, again, those bad Blue
Gloss
Jay
was 2
times.
years.
We have during those bad Blue Jay days, we didn't really have good third basemen. So I'm putting Josh at third too.
Yeah, in terms of guys who played with us long term, we had Ed Sprague, who was mediocre at best.
Yeah.
Offensively anyway. Rance Mullenix played a bit there, and then he switched to DH. But that's in the 80s. So I
what about Paul Molitor?
Paul
Paul
Molitor
Molitor
was not a third baseman. He was he DH'd for us.
Okay, but his position would have been third though, but he was a DH.
Yeah, he played the most games in his Blue Jays tenure at DH. So yeah, that's why I didn't put him here.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, let's move to outfielders here. We're not going to pick left field, right field, center fielder. We're just picking 3 outfielders.
Yeah, 3 outfielders.
All right, Justin.
Okay. Do we all have George Bell on our list? I know Patrick and I do.
Again, mine is off the board, so I'm not going George Bell because I have a fan favorite for me.
All right, so George Bell.
He is, again, one of the top 5 Jays of all time. I understand that.
Yeah. Also on, I think Patrick and I, do we both have? No, I went off. We're different now. So I have Jesse Barfield, who I love watching old video of Jesse Barfield play.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
He was quite a
that one.
personality. I wanted to pick Lloyd Mosby, but I had to leave him off in favor of my boy Devon White. I also love watching old Devo highlights. Still, I think the best center fielder to play in the years that we won. He played with us for 2 World Series. He played with us for 5 years, and honestly, he had the second highest offensive WAR on our team the year we won the '92 World Series, which is pretty impressive when you consider we had guys like Alomar and Carter and Dave Winfield on the team. So I picked Devo for his offensive and fielding prowess. So those are my 3 guys. I have Bell, Barfield, and Devo.
So Patrick, you had George Bell, so we won't get into that.
Let me say my list.
Yeah.
Okay. You're cutting into my list, Clayton.
No, I was going to say your other 2. What are they?
My other 2 are, of course, Jose Bautista and the long forgotten, perhaps overrated, Vernon Wells. When the chips were down during our lean years or the years where we were okay but not great, Vernon Wells was a star in the outfield, and he hit the crap out of the ball. And that's what I remember about the lean years is Vernon Wells and just how damn good he was at the plate.
Yeah.
And then he signed that giant god-awful contract.
And credit Alex Anthopoulos for getting rid of that contract.
Somehow, somewhere.
Somehow he got rid of that contract.
The
I
Angels
don't
are
know
notorious
how,
for that. Josh Hamilton, Albert Pujols, they just pick up all these big-ass contracts.
because they need something to compete with LA
That's
down there.
hilarious.
Because they're like, hey, come to Anaheim, everyone.
Yeah.
We have Josh Hamilton. Yay.
Yeah, I like the Vernon Wells pick, Patrick. I mean, his 2003 season, the most exciting year in Blue Jays history since 1993, when Roy Halladay won the Cy Young. Vernon Wells finished 8th in MVP voting. He was an All-Star and won the Silver Slugger.
He had a couple gold gloves, did he not?
Yeah, in 04 and 05,
Yeah.
and also 06. He won 3 in a row. And he also was an All-Star in 06.
He will go down as one of the most underrated Jays.
Yeah,
Unappreciated,
I mean,
I
he
think.
finished his career with a 270 batting average, and I mean that's good. Like he played in how many games did he play in? Quite a few. 1,731 games over 15 years.
Good for him.
So I mean, the guy was a long tenured guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he played well. And I mean, he played great defense for us in the lean years. Yes. So
Okay, well, make your case for Jose Bautista then. Here, Patrick.
yeah, why you pick Jose? He's not a good outfielder. He's a good batter. Not a good outfielder.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I need somebody in right field, and I needed to pick somebody who I knew wasn't going to be on the other lists.
Yeah, you wanted a bopper
I was-
too. You wanted a guy who draws walks because that's your thing.
Yeah, I love it. He drew walks. He had great eyes at the plate, and honestly, that home run. That's where our podcast got its name. So how
Yeah.
could I not put Jose Bautista on my list? Like I can't justify picking Devon White when just I knew he wasn't going to be on anybody else's list,
Fair
and it needed to be said.
Mm-hmm.
The bat flip, man.
I had him on mine originally. And now that I'm thinking about it, this is the toughest one too, because there have been a lot of good Blue Jay outfielders.
Outfielders, yeah.
I have Devon White on there because Devon White could track down any ball.
Any ball.
He was the fastest outfielder at the time.
Yeah.
Anything hit in his general direction, he was going to get it. That's the theme on my team. Good defense. You got Johnny Mack. You got all these guys that can play D. So Devon White's on there.
But can they get on base?
Who cares? Moneyball over here. Whatever. I loved Shannon Stewart.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought
good.
Shannon Stewart is one of the most unappreciated Blue Jays.
Do you have the bookmark of Shannon Stewart from like the early 2000s that was given out at the book
Oh
fair?
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
those. And like Shannon Stewart was just such a nice guy. You never heard a lot about him off the field or anything like that.
No.
But he was just so consistent, and you never had to worry about Shannon Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
He had the name, he had the baseball look. And again, I'm going off the board. I would probably pick someone else. I had a soft spot for Shannon Stewart, just like I had a soft spot for Johnny Mack. The other outfield, I can't decide between Vernon Wells, Jose Bautista, and Kevin Pillar. I can't decide between those three for that last spot. It's tied for me. Because, like, Vernon Wells, again, during the shitty days, Vernon Wells was the reason you watched Blue Jay baseball.
V-dub.
Kevin Pillar has an amazing highlight reel, and he also has a couple of clutch hits. He also has a little
two.
bit of a black mark on his reputation with the Jays, the whole racial slur kind of thing. Well, not the
Yeah,
slur.
I think that's
over.
over.
I think that's
don't
over.
even think about that
But
anymore.
like, it's Batista, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think you got to give it to Jose Batista over Vernon Wells in a
Fair enough.
situation like that. Just because Jose went to the playoffs, Jose has the moments, Jose has the home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, Vernon Wells does too, but
Patrick, the spicy boy with Bautista and Vernon
I
Wells.
mean, I like the Vernon Wells pick a lot.
I do.
Patrick.
I do.
What about catchers, guys? I'll let Patrick go first because he thinks we're cutting into his time.
Oh man, no, I couldn't think of anybody aside from Russell Martin, and that's I don't know if that's sad
It's very
or
sad.
like I don't know. I don't come from the school of Darren Fletcher or Greg Zahn.
Ugh, Zahn.
Again, the most exciting baseball that I've watched in the last 20-something years as a Jays fan has included Russell Martin behind the plate. So
Mm-hmm.
I gotta give it to him. Yeah, his bat in the playoffs has been less than exciting, but Russell Martin, he at the time when we got him, he was one of the best game callers in the league. In terms of what he does working with pitchers, he's second to none in team history. He was probably better before he came to us, but it's kind of a combination of a sentimental pick, but also what he brings to the team beyond what he did at, at the plate.
Right.
I'm looking at Justin's right now, and Justin, you might have some explaining behind this one.
I went with Ernie Whitt. I mean, he's the longest tenured Blue Jay catcher in terms of consecutive years with the most starts. He started with the Jays as their starting catcher from 1980 all the way until 1989. So, I mean, they didn't win anything in those years, but they did have some great teams. In terms of production, Ernie Whitt was never a negative producer like we were seeing from Russell Martin this year. Every year he contributed something positive to the team. And he's also now the manager of the Canadian national baseball team.
Yep.
So, I mean, props to Ernie. He's born in Detroit. He debuted with Boston. And, I mean, he's in the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame and also the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So he had a great impact on Canadian baseball.
I just don't remember him as a Jay.
Well, I mean, he last played for us in '89.
Yeah, so it's before our time.
4 years before I was born.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I always look at lists and highlights and all these things and the stats. I actually went pretty in depth with my catcher pick because I didn't want to pick Russell Martin because of how bad he is right now. I loathe Greg Zahn.
Yeah.
And those are the two guys I remember outside of Fletcher and Aaron Sebia and Benji Molina for a year in my lifetime. So I look deep into like starting pitching stats and like catchers kind of contributions into that.
Yeah.
And Ernie Whitt was a great game caller, great defensive catcher. So I picked that my catcher based on that rather than choosing from somebody who I actually lived to see.
You looking into the stats? That never happens. It's
I went
weird.
deep for my catcher pick. This is the one that I thought the most about. It took me a long time to pick an outfielder, Corey, just because of how many guys there are.
Yeah.
And for catcher, it was hard for me to not pick Ernie Whitt once I looked into the stats.
I'd say Fletch. Darren Fletcher.
He was my second pick.
Yeah, he's the safe pick, I think, for Darren Fletcher
Darren
because
Fletcher,
a lot of Jays fans know him. He was a solid catcher. I think he was just very solid.
Yeah.
J.P. Sebia maybe had stretches where he was better, but J.P. Sebia was also worse like 90% of the time because he was just
He's the second member of the Cement Head.
Yeah, the Jays, I think we can all agree, catcher has not been kind to them in the past.
Please, Danny Jansen, save us.
We haven't really had a lot of great catchers historically. Starting pitcher, there's a bunch to pick from.
Oh my God.
But there's two in particular.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a pretty good debate about this one, I feel.
Yeah. Patrick, you go first. I like your pick.
I'm going to preface this pick by saying it would not be interesting if we all picked the same starting pitcher.
I kind of picked mine based on yours, to be honest.
I literally, deliberately picked this pitcher because I knew, like you and everybody out there who's listening knows who the starting pitcher should be, but I picked Dave Steve because he was there for so long.
And he was good.
He was awesome. Damn good. The fact that, we remember the guys like Pat Hankton or who else in like the 90s?
Josh Towers.
Jimmy Key.
I'm just kidding, by the way. That was a joke.
Jimmy Key, guys like that. But like in the 80s, when we had guys like Ernie Whitt behind the plate, we had Dave Steve who went out there
was Ernie Whitt behind the plate for some of Dave
250
Steve's
innings. Like, the guy was ridiculous.
You're just solidifying my catcher pick right now, Patrick.
Yeah, but Darren Fletcher was back there during the Kelvin Escobar years, so basically the exact same thing. Like, whatever.
No, the thing is, Steve hung around long enough to be a part of one of the World Series wins, and
True.
It wasn't the complete end of his career.
It was pretty
although
close,
it was probably the end of his career as an effective pitcher.
It was.
That's not meant to be disrespectful.
No.
It's just reality. By that point, he was old, and it was just a rapid decline after 1990. But
for sure.
I digress. When you look back at what best represented the Jays until we won the World Series, in my mind, it's Dave Steve, and it's what he was able to do out on the mound, the endurance that this guy had, the way he was able to pitched for well over 200 innings so many times in his career. You know, one year he actually pitched 288 innings.
He had 19 complete games that year, 5 shutouts. That was 82.
Yeah, that was back in the day when
and he
pitchers
wasn't
were
an
freaks.
all-star that year. He was a 7-time all-star. He finished 4th in Cy Young vote that year, but he wasn't an all-star. Interesting.
I mean, that's uncanny. I mean, I think
unheard of.
Ferguson Jenkins might have also been a warhorse like that, where he would get out there and he would log like close to 300 innings a season.
That was a different time,
like,
though. They didn't have 7 single inning relievers on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very impressive. His career stats are very good. I don't know, just like Steve is almost like, it's such a shame that it was, you know, his success happened before the team saw success.
Yeah, true. He's kind of
because
the reason that we had success, though, when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's the house that Dave Steve built, and it's essentially that contending and that mentality of winning was he was one of the guys who brought that about.
All right,
that's exactly the way that I see him. But I mean, let's talk about who really is the starting pitcher choice.
And see, I don't think that you made the wrong pick at all. This is kind of one of those positions where you could pick 2 or 3 guys.
It's 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B, yeah. Roy Halladay, the Doc.
Yeah.
And I mean, in contrast to my catcher pick where I researched it meticulously, this was the first guy there's not a doubt in my mind I'm picking Roy Halladay.
And you don't need to research him because you watched him
so
much that you just know.
When I started watching Blue Jays baseball, I was about 6. It was 99, so it was the year that Roy Halladay stuck around with the team for the full season.
Yeah.
And he obviously he wasn't the best pitcher until about 2002 when he really figured it out. And I remember every 5 days being so excited to watch this guy work. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you would hand him the ball and we expected him to go 9 innings every time. Every time that the manager would come out, be it Buck Martinez or John Gibbons or whoever it was at the time, he would look just pissed off, like, why the hell are you here?
Yeah. He went 10 innings a couple times.
He had a 10-inning loss to the Philadelphia Phillies. I do remember it was a 1-0 loss, and he also had a 10-inning win sometime around that time as well. But, I mean, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 All-Star appearances as a Blue Jay, maybe 7 All-Star appearances as a Jay. He won a Cy Young Award, finished in the top 5 3 other times, and he won another one at the Phillies. He was close in MVP voting a few times. I mean, the guy, R.I.P. Doc, but I mean, maybe the best pitcher of the first decade of the 2000s who pitched for that full tenure. Obviously, Roger Clemens is in there too, and a couple of other people like Randy Johnson, who Patrick detests apparently because he pitched for the Kurt Schilling in Arizona at the same time. but I mean, those 2002 and 2003 seasons, watching the Doc every day, I can still remember that grainy TV quality and like sitting down on the couch with my dad and my sister and watching Roy Halladay pitch.
When games were still on CBC on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had Jamie Campbell was the freaking Blue Jays commentator back then. I remember those, and Matt Devlin would come on every once in a while. And like the fact that like I can remember those so vividly. And I love Vernon Wells, but there aren't too many Vernon Wells highlights that I remember. I remember when he hit that monster home run and some off Windows Restaurant. I can remember Delgado's big games. But like Roy Halladay, I could watch a game and I could probably tell you what pitch was coming next.
Yeah.
If I watched it now, a highlight of it. That's how much like this guy meant everything to the Blue Jays.
See, for me, it's hard to keep Roger Clemens off this list.
It is.
Roger Clemens only played 2 years with the Jays, but
they
he
were
won
great
2
years.
Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
The first time he came back to Boston, and everyone was giving him the years. He had 16 strikeouts that day.
He didn't care.
He had 16
he
strikeouts.
was just like, he was so good.
Like, I just remember, like, I've never seen Doc. Actually, I have seen Doc be as dominant as Clemens.
Yeah.
But when Clemens was on the mound for the Jays, it was over. And again, like with Doc, that was the case, but it was more because the Jays were just so bad that you never knew that they were going to lose 1-0 or something like that. At least the Jays back in 98, 97, when he was there, at least they had a little bit of pop in their bat and they had some kind of talent around them, you know?
Do you know how many Cy Youngs that Clemens won in his career?
He won 7?
Yeah.
And then 2 of them, both years in Toronto, both years Cy Youngs, and then he left to New York, but whatever.
Got a couple more, yeah.
But I know that Clemens doesn't belong on the list because Steve and Halliday were there longer, and they were just as good as Clemens.
You can't discount the numbers he put up, though, in those 2 years.
You can't just ignore Clemens,
No.
even though it was only for 2 years.
He almost struck out 300 batters in 97.
He might have the best 2 years in Blue Jay pitching baseball history.
The best 2 consecutive. Yeah.
The best 2 consecutive
yeah,
years.
I'd put him out right at him and Doc's. Doc's 02-03 and Clemens 97-98.
Everyone kind of forgets about Clemens' Jays years.
Yeah, it's just there was only 2 of them.
Yeah,
but
they were
mean,
so dominant.
he really used it as kind of a stepping stone to launch his big money years. I mean, he had two or three great years with Boston and a few other ones where he was good, but his win-loss record, which we looked at back then, wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then when he goes 21-7 and 20-6 with the Jays, that was his career right there. It propelled him to bigger and better things with the Yankees.
Patrick, do you think that this praise for Clemens is warranted, or are you?
Yeah. No, he dominated.
Yeah.
He was the most dominant pitcher in those 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
But there was only 2 years. That's the crappy thing.
Yeah, but the thing
it's
is
only 2 years, and he kind of. I don't know if he really speaks very fondly of his time in Toronto, if he even talks about it at all. Most people remember him as a Red Sox or a Yankee or whatever. But I agree. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't be included in this list just because of just the sheer firepower he gave a Blue Jays team that was slowly declining after winning the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that him going to New York maybe tarnished it a bit, going to a division rival?
If we're being honest, it does. It shouldn't, but it does.
It does, I think.
I mean,
it's the Yankees. We fucking hate the Yankees. They're the worst. It's like whenever Jays go to the Yankees, it sucks. Because it's just like, yeah, we'll totally develop your players and you can poach them and pay more money than us. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm so sick of that.
I think Jay Happ's going to be one of the Blue Jays to get, because he got traded, right? It's different than free agency. But he's going to get a warm reception if he pitches against us at some point.
Yeah.
But Clemens, 4,672 strikeouts over his 24-year career.
Yeah, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Just crazy. Okay, let's talk about some relievers here. Are you guys doing right hand, left hand? Or
yeah,
just
we
two
went
relievers?
we went with a right hander, a left hander, and a closer. So we have 3 relievers in total.
Gotcha. I'm just wondering if it was 2 relief guys or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's see your right-handed pitcher first.
We both have Paul Quantrill, I believe, don't we, Patrick?
That's right. Definitely deserving of this spot. If you look at the all-time history of relief pitchers in Toronto, spoiler alert, it's not really that great outside of the closer role. And what Paul Quantrill was able to do that one season where he was an all-star, I think it justifies his spot on this list. Plus, he has a cool last name, and he was on the team during like a bit of a downtime. And yeah, he was really fun to watch the year that he was an all-star.
That was 01. He played in 80 games that year. He had started his career as a starting pitcher.
Yep.
And then we transitioned him to a relief pitcher in 97, and the rest was history, really. I mean, from 01 to 04, he appeared in no less than 86 games, and his ERA was never higher than 4.72 with the Yankees in 04. But, I mean, he was still very reliable. There were a couple of years, he almost touched 100 innings that year as a reliever for the Yankees.
Which is intense.
It's very, very intense. His FIP, very high. Are very good, sorry. ERA plus is that we don't talk about much, but 1 year the league average was 100 and he had a 232 ERA plus, which is an advanced stat for another day. But the guy was like maybe the best right-handed reliever in baseball.
Yeah.
In terms of middle relief for those 4 years.
I think it's Quantrill too. Is it Quantrill or Quantrill?
I say Quantrill.
I say Quantrill. I don't know why.
Quantrill.
But it's Quantrill.
Oh, Quantrill. Okay.
Yeah,
I think the only other guy, maybe Jason Fraser.
Yeah, in terms of consistency.
Yeah, and just longevity,
like
but Jason Fraser. But the thing is, with the Jays bullpen, so much turnover over the past couple years.
And that's how it is with relievers.
Like, we can go off like Scott Schoenweiss and all these fucking guys who have played for us.
Randy
Yeah,
Myers.
I know he was left-handed. Yeah, like Brian Talent. Like we could go off on Blue Jay relievers.
Yeah.
Would we consider Escobar a reliever because he was a reliever at the end of his career with the Jays?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't.
And he
I
was
didn't-
lefty too, right?
No, he was right-handed.
He was
pitcher.
right-handed? 'Cause
I didn't consider him at all in this list for relief pitching.
Okay.
Oh,
So
you could.
yeah. Anything else for Quantrill there,
Mm,
Patrick?
Not for me.
Yeah, he's absolutely deserving of the spot, and I think we can pretty safely say that he is our best non-closer reliever that we've had.
Yeah. Okay. Left-handed pitcher now,
Mhm.
because there are a couple, but I don't know, Justin. I don't know
It's
about
tough.
yours, man.
Hey, I went with Scotty Downs. I mean, he was with us.
Former Expo.
Yeah, exactly. He was with us for 5 years. His ERA with us was never higher. His first years weren't great, but in 07, he pitched in 81 games
He was good that year.
to a 2.17 ERA. The next year, he followed with a 1.78 ERA in 66 innings. He didn't walk a ton of guys. He didn't strike out a ton of guys. He wasn't like a super glamorous dude, but he got outs. When we needed him to get outs, he did it. I picked him because I couldn't think of another left-handed relief pitcher who played in the prime of their career with us better than Scott Downs.
He was good.
He was good.
He was very underrated for the Jays.
Yeah.
Just not a sexy pick though.
And there, to be fair, there aren't really any.
Yeah,
in
it's
this left-handed
relief
pitcher
pitchers, I
list.
guess. Until we get to the closers, I guess there's not really
Closer.
sexy picks.
Yeah.
Patrick, left-handed relief pitcher.
I went with B.J. Ryan because
What about
Clayton.
he's a
The list-
closer though?
Yeah, he's still a
the
left-handed
list-
reliever. Technically.
well, the problem that we run into is when you look at the history of left-handed relievers
It's like
in
two
Toronto, it's
sparse.
not great.
True.
BJ did okay for us. He had two seasons where he racked up the saves, and that was pretty much all he did his entire career. What happened to him after 2009?
He just started
Did he-
getting rocked.
I mean, he got fat.
Whatever it was.
I'll remember whenever he blew a save, he would always spit his dip of red man just into the sky.
Yeah.
Like whenever he would throw, like whatever, like it was always a walk-off home run. It was
Yeah.
never like a walk-off single. It was always a walk-off home run.
yeah.
He'd watch it go and then go and just spit his dip as high as he could in the air. And I was like, oh, BJ. And they always showed it on TSN too. It was like,
every
oh my
time.
God. I would probably say, again, like, probably BJ Ryan, like, because he was dominant. He was an all-star one year, and he was lights out one year. And again, there's no one else.
There's no sexy picks on the left-handed.
Closer. I think we all have the same one.
Tommy.
It's got to be Tom Hankey, right?
Oh man, this
Anyone
guy was
disagree?
incredible.
Are you changing yours, Patrick?
No, I'm not. About Tom Hankey, the guy was there for us through the world, he was there for one World Series win, and then he went to Texas.
Yeah.
Yuck. But
Texas.
man, I can't say enough nice things about the Terminator. He's
Yeah.
got those funky glasses, those
The
giant.
white,
Yeah.
yeah, like the white, kind of like the clear white rims on him too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was really exciting to watch,
man.
and he was actually only 37 when he retired.
Which I mean is fair. I mean he was still pitching really well. So I mean, he went on top, which is something I can respect about a player.
Look at his career ERA though, 2.67. I know that's not everything.
But that's as a
blah, blah,
reliever.
blah,
That's
but
impressive.
yeah, as a reliever, his career FIP as a reliever is 2.72.
Yeah. So he actually was very close. Good old advanced
He-
stats.
Yeah.
He garnered MVP votes 3 times in his career as a
And
reliever.
a two-time All-Star. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
What about Billy Koch? I know he doesn't come close to
Yeah.
Hankey, guys. I know, but would Billy Koch be second on your list? Roberto Osuna's not on the list anymore.
No.
He might have been before all of this shit, but
He would have been
not
on the
anymore.
list. He wouldn't have been first.
But I think who's number 2 on the closer list?
Billy Koch.
Billy Koch.
Billy Koch.
He had 3 great years.
He did,
for
and he had
us.
sick style.
Yeah, he was a pretty cool dude. I liked his windup.
Yeah, and again, that whole story about him in Tampa Bay, I've never heard a crazier story in baseball. Oh, you cut me? Well, I'm going to bring my whole kids, like my kids and their birthday party or whatever it was. I'm just going to rip you
Was that
guys
in
a
spring
new
training?
one. I might have been spring training like the first
Yeah.
couple weeks or something like that, but man, that
'Cause
was funny.
He doesn't have any official stats. He pitched for Miami. I don't know if that's what you're thinking. Like the Florida Marlins.
Was it maybe the Marlins? I thought it was the Rays for some reason.
Either or. It's a Florida team with
Yeah.
minimal fans.
We are missing out on Dwayne Ward, who would have been our closer in 1993.
Mm-hmm.
He had that outstanding year in 93 where he saved 45 games, was an all-star, top 5 Cy Young voter, MVP votes too. He was just electric, and then he got really badly hurt.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the end of his career.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine? He retired at 31.
Yeah.
Some other
Can
ones.
you imagine what we would have been able to do in the mid to late 90s with a closer as effective as Dwayne Ward was at his peak, which was his final season? I would even argue that you could put Ward second over Billy Koch just because he came in red hot in 1993. He was one of the reasons why we were able to do what we did in 93.
He might have been our best middle reliever from about 90 to 92, and then when he took over that closer role, he just ran with it. He did save some games in the first part of the 90s, but he took over that role with the departure of Hanky in 93, and like you said, that he just tore it up.
You don't see that too often anymore, where a guy will stick with the team in the middle of the bullpen and then get promoted to closer. They're usually just gone, or they get picked up or whatever.
Yeah.
So good on him. Some bad ones that come to mind: Miguel Escobar,
Tyler Clifford.
Also, Sergio Santos, worst of all time. I remember we got Sergio Santos, and I saw his nasty slider on tape, and I was like, "This guy is going to be filthy for us."
And he threw hard.
Did nothing for the Jays. Zero things.
That seems like a long time ago already.
Long time ago. That was a depressing year.
Yeah. BJ managers.
Managers here. Who do you got?
Patrick, you go first because I don't like your pick.
I went with the sentimental pick. I went with Gibby. Obviously, there is somebody who stands above him, but
Buck.
For me, Gibby, Gibby is just like, I see him as right now kind of the heart and soul of the team. All the players love him. Management loves him. The fans love him. It's going to be really hard to let Gibby go, and it's probably going to happen sooner than we want, which is really depressing. But Gibby, whatever his style, I don't know how to describe it exactly.
Lackadaisical?
What is it?
Lackadaisical. He jogs to the mound to change pitchers out. He kind of walks briskly. It's almost like an Olympic power walk.
He gives a shit, but it doesn't look like he does. Yeah.
I just love his arms over the railings.
Yeah, and
pose
just
where
sitting there,
his arms up above his head and he's just leaning on the railing.
See, I would say Gibby too. I love Cito, but
come on, boys.
Gibby's just more of the guy, you know?
How
he's just
can you not pick Cito?
Fun fact about John Gibbons, and this is just a quick story here. I had a fake John Gibbons Twitter account going for a while. It was John Gibby 5, and I had 700 followers by the time. Awesome. I forgot the password. I kind of stopped tweeting for a while, but it was 2 years before we got really good, or was it? No, the year he was hired.
Yeah.
So that was the year before we got really good.
Yeah.
And I did, John Gibby 5. I just started tweeting at some guys, and some other Blue Jay guys retweeted me, and I had some pretty fire tweets on that account. I was having comments with other Blue Jay fans and stuff.
Is it still up? Do you ever look it up?
It's John Gibby 5.
John Gibby 5.
But yeah, so I can't remember the password. I can't get back into it. But I had
I'm gonna go retweet a bunch
of
stuff.
It was good,
later.
man. It was If you want to go follow it or whatever, that's fine. But I'd go with Gibby just because, again, I love the way he gets ejected. I just love his attitude and stuff. Cito just didn't have that for me.
He won 2 world championships.
I know, but that's the thing. That's the obvious sexy pick. I'm going off the board.
Come on.
It is Cito though. Again, Cito's a legend. He's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame yet, is he?
No, because he managed for us, and he might be eligible pretty quick.
When he came back, though, I think that's why it kind of left a little.
When he came back, I thought it was.
He wasn't great.
No, but what he did do is he fixed Jose Bautista's swing and turned him into a 54 home run player.
That's true.
Yep.
Cito Gaston was not a great major league player. But he was a great manager. His winning percentage isn't much above 500, but he managed in almost 2,000 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously the guy was successful enough. He managed us from 89 to 97, and then from 08 to 2010.
Yeah.
So those last 3 years were kind of almost. Mercy managing for the team because there was nobody really there.
No,
it was when Paul Beeston was still around with the team, so he brought his old buddy back, got the old boys club back together, And I mean, it was fun. It was good to see Cito. I didn't have any memories of him, and I thought he was great as a manager. I remember him being a very good bullpen manager.
Oh yeah.
Which a lot of managers, John Gibbons has gotten better. I used to rag on him all the time for being terrible at managing the bullpen and using guys in weird situations. But I picked Cito because we won when Cito was our manager.
Yep, true.
We've never won another World Series with any other manager than Cito Gaston. He won 2 in a row for us.
Yeah, but I just
Granted,
love
we put a
Gibby.
great feel on the team.
Yeah.
But it takes a great manager to make sure that those players are in the best situation that they can be to win.
That's true. Any last words?
Do you guys
on
Do you guys remember back in 2009 when there was like mention of like a mutiny in the Blue Jays clubhouse against Cito?
Yeah.
Oh man, it was
all
actually
complete.
Ken Rosenthal who busted open that story.
Yeah.
And about like a lack of communication, and Lyle Overbay was upset, I think, about his playing time.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was a whole like to do, but the idea of a clubhouse mutiny I find incredibly amusing.
Can you imagine like the guys like barricading themselves in the clubhouse and not coming out until they fire the manager?
Well, what about the Ted Lilly, John Gibbons situation too? And Lilly tried to fight him in the clubhouse, and again, like Gibby, who is way older than Ted Lilly,
he could have kicked his ass.
He didn't back down.
No,
he chased him in the tunnel and was like, "Well, fuck you, Ted Lilly."
I think Gibby would have kicked Ted Lilly's ass.
Yeah, Ted Lilly was
he's a left-handed pitcher versus a former catcher. Catchers are tough.
Ted Lilly was cupboard butter man soft.
Yeah.
Gibby looks like he has that like grandpa strength. He has this like wealth of strength that he just hides from everybody. Kind of like Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z, where he's just like looks like an old man most of the time. When he rips off his shirt, he's ripped.
He's like the grandpa on Thanksgiving who just gets drunk off rye, sitting in the chair watching football. And if you wake him up, he's going to be pissed, and he's going to get real angry with you, and you're going to see a real bad dark side of him.
All right, boys. Vladdy Guerrero, 2 walks tonight, scored a run. He's up batting again right now. I'm going to keep you updated on that.
Nice. Well,
nice for him to get a hit.
Yeah.
Who cares? He's getting on base.
There's one more thing that just popped up in my feed here. If you guys want to hear me try Spanish, I can do it. But if not, I'll just read the English translation. Junito Guriel on Instagram, aka Lourdes Guriel Jr., posts, "Thanks to all people who has cared about my death. I'll be out of ball field for a few days. I'll be back soon."
Yikes.
That's really poor translation, but the Spanish, obviously...
Yeah.
That's what it's coming from, but I haven't seen an official amount of time for him.
You never
People
know.
are saying 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you never know with this kind of injury.
And Vladdy draws walk number 3 on the day.
That's boring.
So, but Danny Jansen, hitting behind him tonight, has 2 hits, 3 RBIs, and a run scored. So he's already impacted Danny Jansen in a positive way. So good for him.
Nice. So let's end it on a positive note there. The future looking good. Okay.
Yeah. The Bisons are playing against Ryan Goins tonight. By the way.
That's it. That's all for episode 9. Shout out again to our Montana listeners. We love you.
Hey, Montana.
Facebook, Bat Flips, Maple Dips. Just look it up on search. On Twitter at BFMD Podcast. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music. Just Google Bat Flips Maple Dips. That's probably the best way to do it.
You'll find our SoundCloud there.
For Justin and Patrick, it's Clayton signing off. We'll see you next Tuesday.